everybody. This is Donnie. I am en route to the woods right now. We are going to share some articles and some other fascinating information that I found out. But I've got to go and retrieve a trail camera that my stepson has up here, and he called me just a few minutes ago and asked me if I would grab it for him. So I'll probably go and take care of that first, and then we're going to go set up somewhere and do some articles. Oh, got the Charlie horse. We're not far from the property. I'm taking a different route. As the crow flies, we're probably 8 miles away, I guess. But driving these roads, it's a lot of turns, and I'm trying to get in this route. I'm not sure that I can even make it to the property this way, but a friend of ours has a farm back here, and he claims that he took his tractor. Some kids got stuck, and they seen him out there on the field on his tractor, and they paid him to come and pull them out because they were somewhere that was illegal. They were in a water hole in a pond, and he claims that he drove his tractor, and he said he's pretty sure that the truck would have no problem going the trail to gets from this paved road where I'm at to the dirt road, which is north. It's that direction. That'll take me to the property. He claims that I can get through it with no problem. So I'm going to try. If it works out, I'll be at the property here in about 15 minutes or so. We'll grab that camera, and then we're going to get on with some articles and some other things. So I will see you in a second.
Down the stairs in a green sundress, a rose gold necklace I gave her on, long hair bouncing off her sunglasses. Man, she really turns me on. Parasol resting on her shoulder, hops in my truck, $1 million smile. She said, baby, where are we going? I said, let's get lost for a while. I wanna roll with you, stroll with you, run around the storm with you. Lay your head down on me, baby, making all our dreams come true.
Alright, we got the camera. Now I'm going to head out of the property and out of this gate. And we're going to go around to the other gate. So I'm going to get out and lock this. And I'm not going to record the ride back out. I recorded some of the ride coming in down the trail that brings you here. But it's just got a thorn in my hand. It's a long ride, and I'm sure you guys don't want to see 3 miles of just trails coming back. I mean, it's all the same thing once you get away from the creeks. And there's a sinkhole up here we'll kind of go around, and it's pretty up in there, but outside of that, everything looks the same. Pine trees and blackjack oaks and a few white oaks and a bunch of holly bushes, Yopon holly. So let's get around to the other side. I got to get the gate locked, and we're going to get busy with some articles. Alright, you guys, I'm sorry. I've been trying to figure out what's going on with my mic. My mic was not acknowledging that it was even connected. So I apologize about that. But anyway, I think I'm going to sit over here somewhere. Let me find a spot to set up and get this camera going, and we're going to share some articles and some other stuff. Alright guys, sorry. It's taking me a while. I walked all over out here. And I ended up walking back that direction, and I found a beautiful area. It was all open. It was in planted pines, but there was no growth on the ground. It was so pretty. And I figured that'd be a fantastic spot. I couldn't find nowhere to sit. And then I got that feeling of being watched. That I'm so sick of that mess. But anyway, that was my sign that I need to leave. All right, we're going to try to find where I'm at. And these articles there's so many of them, and a lot of them got messed up. These are a couple that I tried to do, I haven't done. I've recorded them 5 times, and I had audio issues or battery issues, or it was problems every time. That was about 6 months ago. But we're going to move on with it. All right, this is titled Encounters with Human-Faced Deer, Deer People, Skinwalkers, and Shapeshifters. The location is in Georgia, Midland, Michigan, the Lakota Indian Reservation, Vernon, Florida, and other locations. The information sources are multiple eyewitness testimony and an article from Discovery News in 2012 titled 10 Ways Science is Using Human-Animal Hybrids. Encounter with Human-Faced Deer in Georgia, USA, 2015. One man writes, late one night I went out with my dog to get a late night meal at the gas station called Wawa. Things went fine on the drive there, but on the way back, weird things went on. I turned off the main road onto a side road and came to a 3-way stop sign where another side road met the one I was on. There was another car at this 3-way intersection, and everything seemed normal up to this point. I drove another quarter mile when my dog started growling. This may sound normal, but it wasn't. My dog never growls, not even when he saw someone punch me in the face. He didn't have a reaction other than wagging his tail. When he growled like that, I got alerted to something not right, and I looked around. I saw this deer walking onto the road from behind this massive oak tree
and I felt grateful my dog had growled as it had allowed me to stop in time about 15 feet from the deer. I was relieved that I didn't hit it. At the time, I thought the deer was pretty stupid to casually walk into the road with a moving vehicle approaching it. The deer walked into the headlights of my car, which were dim because of the age of my car. As it walked into the front of my first headlight, it turned and looked at me, and I saw its face. I shook my head a little because of it being late, and I thought I was imagining what I saw. Maybe it was a play of shadows. This deer had a human face, and not just that it looked similar to a human face with dark eyes and a long snout. This deer literally had a human face. After confirming what I had just seen, I froze. I don't remember if my dog was growling at this point or not. I was just scared like crazy. It kept staring right at me until it reached the other side of the road, and it walked off into the woods. Since then, I have sat at home with my gun loaded. I have thought about what I encountered. Maybe it was a chimera. Second encounter. Encounters with human-faced deer and deer people on sacred land. One woman writes, "My boyfriend is Native American and his family are very spiritual. His uncle started to tell us about a crazy supernatural experience. This one stood out the most because it involved a deer with a human face, which my boyfriend told me in private sounded like a skinwalker. His uncle went into the woods with his brother, cousins, and nephew. They were gathering wood where his dad and uncle usually took them and kept watch, but this time it was just the kids. The youngest boy, the nephew, suddenly pointed to something that looked like a deer that was on its hind legs. As soon as his cousin saw it stand up and run up the hill with arms bent in running fashion, he grabbed the youngest and they started to run. When they got back to their grandmother and were very upset, she was very upset that they went out alone because it was a sacred part where Native American ceremonies and rituals took place. He also mentioned something about deer people and how the Native people know they are not supposed to interfere with their life or really even see them or look at them. He told me another story about the same area and similar situation. There was an older man singing and walking around the mist, probably praying like old natives do, when suddenly he's surrounded by deer, but they had human faces, and their forms are bent across their face to hide it. The man was shocked and just stood there until the deer ran up the hill. Moments later, the deer returned on all fours with the normal faces. I'm not sure what to make of it. I just know that I could vividly imagine everything he was saying, and I felt like I shouldn't have heard about deer people or even imagined it because it wasn't my business, and I was so curious as to what other people think. My boyfriend and his uncle mentioned deer people as a normal thing, but there isn't much on the internet that I found. Yeah, that's not very normal. That's not normal at all. And this one's in my local area here. Close to me anyway. Encounter with a human-faced deer in the Florida Panhandle in 2019. One hunter relates, "It was sometime between 2010 and 2019 when this happened. I don't remember exactly when, but during that time frame. I was in Vernon, Florida, and I was hunting on a lease property. At one point, I was doing some video of the hunting area and by myself. That's when I noticed a doe, a female deer, under some small trees about 10 to 15 feet away, and all I could see at first was its profile. Something looked off about it, in the fact that it looked like it did not have a snout that deer usually have sticking out when you see them from the side view. Then as it moved from my right to my left, it stopped and looked directly at me. I got the shock of my life. It had a human face, no snout, and almost mannequin-like. I could see its watery eyes. It really frightened me. Then it moved off, and I was left wondering, what in the world did I just see? I packed up my things and left the area immediately. I must also say, this hunting lease area has other strange things that have happened in the way of cryptid activity, such as a guy who was inside his hunting blind on the ground. He unzipped the front of the blind only to have a skunk ape step out and over him and attempt to grab his ankle. Moving backwards quickly and using a knife, he cut an opening in the rear of the hunting blind and escaped out the back and all the way back to his truck. The skunk ape followed behind him. From where I'm at right now, you guys, Vernon is 35 miles, 40 miles. It's close. It's very close. I go to Vernon often. My brother Chris Claghorn from Claghorn Outdoors, he lives in Vernon. Encounter with a pickup truck hopping skinwalker. A man from Norway relates, "Be open and accept them as part of your heritage as North Americans, as far as the stories are concerned. I'm not surprised at all of the encounters, considering the very large and abundant forests that were there long before the colonists came, and some of them unexplored beyond simple mapping. Who knows what still lives and calls a place its home anymore?" It reminds me of a story about a grandfather and his grandson who were driving down a dusty, dark back road near the woods. Apparently, they were driving down this road and the grandson was getting tired and sleepy, so his eyes were starting to close. But just before he closed his eyes, he thought he saw a pair of shining eyes, like when deer and cats have headlights shining on them, and he tried to make out what it was before it ran into the forest. Unfortunately, it was too fast, and he really didn't get a good look at it. He started to doze off again, and 5 minutes later he heard a thud and felt the truck move up and down while the truck was in motion. The boy felt compelled to look out the back window when his grandfather told him with a very serious and gruff voice, "Do not look back." The grandfather was a very gentle guy and had never raised his voice or even done anything similar in the past towards his son or grandson. Within the family, he was considered more knowledgeable about things, both mundane and spiritual. The grandson felt that this was a warning of some sort, and although he was really curious about what made his grandfather say such a thing in a very stern manner, he obeyed him, and he kept his eyes ahead while he couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching them. They continued to drive the next 30 to 45 minutes, which was left to the house where the boy's mother and father were staying, along with his brother and grandparents. It wasn't until several years later that the grandson got the courage to ask what had happened that night. Apparently, the reason why the grandfather had been so gruff and stern was the fact that a skinwalker had climbed on the back of the truck and was staring at them both from the back, trying to see if they would look back at it, as it to gauge whether or not they had actually seen the skinwalker. The grandfather had caught the same pair of eyes as the grandson had and understood that it could have only been that which caused the sound of the subsequent up and down motion of the truck while they were driving a somewhat flat length of road. That's creepy. The encounter with a shapeshifter on the Lakota Indian Reservation. That was close. Boy, that scared me. Did y'all hear that? That was a gunshot. People shoot out there all the time. That was from that direction. All right, let me start this over again. Encounter with a shapeshifter on a Lakota Indian reservation in 2006. Back in 2006, I was driving in a Lakota Indian reservation area. The creature had a human face and was clothed, but it was running so fast I couldn't get details. I was driving at a 50-ish highway speed. Excuse me. I was driving at a 50-ish highway speed one late afternoon, early evening, when this creature suddenly appeared at my driver's front fender. It ran across the front of my car and vanished at the passenger fender. Because it was in front of the car the whole time, I don't know what the bottom half looked like. By the time I started to brake, it was gone. I couldn't see anything running across the field, nor did it impact anything. The chilling part was when it was directly in front of me, time kind of stood still and it turned its head and looked right at me with an "I see you" vibe. It didn't seem very neutral then, as some described the feeling when seeing them, and it still doesn't now. I'm a white person, so I'm not sure the Lakota will feel comfortable with me telling with me telling what it was exactly. The radio program Coast to Coast was talking about shapeshifters because a friend who worked on the Lakota reservation told me that was probably what I saw. They're shooting back here, but there's something moving right back there. I got to go that way to get back to the truck. We have bears, you guys, so I'm a little nervous. Let me reread that, I'm sorry. The radio program Coast to Coast was talking about shapeshifters because a friend who worked on the Lakota reservation told me that was probably what I saw, a shapeshifter, and he seemed pretty astounded. The encounter with dancing deer people. When I was 8 years old, I had something happen that I can't tell if it was a dream or reality. I was in my bedroom and I woke up in the middle of the night to a fire lit in our backyard fire pit. Around the fire were tall deer, bucks, standing on their hind legs around the fire doing a dance, it seemed. In this dream or reality, whatever it was, I get up and I go to my bathroom, which has a window that looks into the backyard, and I could only see their silhouettes. Then when I went back to my room, they were all gone, and it was a little eerie, but also sort of a peaceful thing to see. Even today, I can see them quite vividly if I think hard enough. That don't sound very peaceful to me. All right, encounter with deer people, Midland, Michigan. I have been looking for information on what I saw, and the more time goes by, the more it bothers me that people don't believe me at all, or when they claim that they do believe me, they act like it's not a big deal. What happened was this. I was on a walk with my friend at the Nature Center in Midland, Michigan. We were following this trail that is mostly through the woods, but there are breaks in the trees and large spaces of just grass with an odd building or structure, and I noticed that he's looking at something in the woods and not moving, so I took a look. It was a deer kneeling down and looking directly at us. It's right where the woods get thicker and off to the left of the path we had been walking. I said that it was a deer, and he said it was not a deer, and started walking forward on the trail. Then I noticed that something wasn't quite right. The face looked like a deer, but with no antlers or anything, and the body was misshapen. I couldn't see very well because of the distance and it being obscured in the brush, so I told my friend to flank it while I stayed there so I wouldn't risk letting it out of my sight. When my friend was halfway, the thing suddenly stands up, still looking at me, and it turns to the right a little more than 90 degrees, and it keeps its eyes on me, straining its neck to look back at me as it walked away into the woods. What made this part of the encounter terrifying for me was that when this thing stood up to turn and leave, it had no hindquarters. It was bipedal, like a man, and it stood up and looked over its shoulder, like a man that stood up and looked over its shoulder at you as he walks away. I can still vividly see it in my mind. My friend lost his eye on it, and I started running in pursuit, but it had too much of a lead by that time, and I got to the tree line. I saw nothing. We aborted our walk and went directly to the car to go home, raving about what we just saw. Guys, I'm sorry about the gunshots. You hear it out here all the time. And they're not supposed to be shooting over there. This is private. Deer men and women, are they real or legend? A bipedal creature looking in forests around the U.S. with deer antlers on their head. Are they half human, half deer, or the product of legend and lore? Most of what we read is based in Native American legend, lore, and tradition. Are these stories clues to something real? What about encounters in recent times? It seems there are two basic stories about deer people, one concerning a deer man and the other a deer woman. In old Cherokee legend, people and animals could communicate long ago. Things went well as long as the people only harvested the animals they needed for food, clothing, and shelter. As time went on, people got a bit greedy, and some might say bloodthirsty. That's when they started killing animals indiscriminately. The animals tried to rebel but couldn't overcome the human hunters. Finally, Awiyusti, Little Deer, and the leader of his people met with the hunters and told them from that point onward they had to perform a ceremony before their hunts, asking the animals permission to kill one of their own. Then the hunters must ask forgiveness from the sacrificial animal and respect it. It's an airplane, you guys. Hopefully it didn't mess the audio up. The story continues by saying if the hunters refused to do these things, Awiyusti would hunt them down and cripple them using his own magic powers so that they would no longer be able to hunt. At first, not all hunters agreed to the terms and they continued to hunt indiscriminately. Awiyusti hunted them down and afflicted them with severe rheumatism so they were no longer able to hunt. Soon after, all the hunters followed the terms of the Awiyusti, and peace descended on the land once more. The Deer Woman story is a bit different, with similarities of a Grimm's fairy tale with its cautionary overtones and morality tale overtones. Wendy Frode Wendy Frode refers to this legend as the Horned Woman, and said that among the southeastern tribes of the United States, the Cherokee, Muskogee, Seminole, and Choctaw, the legend is pretty much the same. She mentions that the Dakota and Lakota tribes have stories about this deer woman that are a bit different but still similar to those of the southeastern tribes. Another tribe, the Karuk, used the story of the deer woman more as a spirit associated with fertility and maturation as a means to prepare young women for marriage. Oh, sorry, guys. My leg went to sleep. I had to stand up and stretch my leg. The stories of the Southeast tribes primarily warn against marrying someone who is not approved by one's family and society. The society felt that arranged marriages ensured the survival of their culture and propagation of their people. The main story revolves around a young man who is seduced by a beautiful young woman, and he leaves his home and family and tribe for her. As he continues to be with this young woman, he will fall more deeply under her spell and stay with her, which ultimately results in depression, despair, prostitution, and death. The only way to discover the real identity of the enchantress is to look at her feet. If she is the deer woman, her feet will be hooves, and knowing that should break the spell for the enamored young man. According to Wendy Frode, the deer woman tells our morality narratives. She teaches us the misuse of sexual power is a transgression that will end in madness and death. The only way to save oneself from the magic of the deer woman is to look at her feet, see her hooves, and recognize her for what she is. Deer woman instructs us that sexual attraction does not a proper marriage make. It is a societal and cultural responsibility of each tribal member to choose a mate wisely, therefore ensuring tribal survival into the next generation. Both the Southeastern stories and the Karuk stories illustrate this cultural responsibility. According to Wiki, the deer woman can also appear as an old woman or even a deer. When compared with other similar tribal legends of dangerous women, these females all have the physical deformity to lure men to their deaths. In the 1950s and 60s, a columnist named Jerry Moriarty popularized the legend of the Deer Man in his column, Mostly Malarkey. It's important to note the malarkey means speech or writing designed to obscure, mislead, or impress. His columns were clearly fiction and entertainment. Another journalist named Dave Clark wrote several articles about this creature in the Star Courier. Dave believes the Deer Man is local to Kewanee, Illinois, and that if you see it 3 times, you die. Finally, in 2005, Masters of Horror TV program featured the deer woman, probably unrecognizable from the original legends. Are the deer people real? Are they flesh and blood cryptids? There's a very clear folklore component to the stories, and it's easy to see how they are cautionary tales to help preserve the culture and traditions of the native peoples. Think about all the old wives' tales we all heard growing up, as well as Grimm's fairy tales, and not to mention Aesop's fables. It is not past some people to make themselves a headdress with antlers and pretend to be a deer man or woman, and we certainly have a lot of Bigfoot hoaxer videos these days. In the world of reality, though, occasional encounters with human-faced deer people, or skinwalkers do happen, and the person is left wondering, what exactly did I see? A real creature? An animal, human chimera, or something else of spirit nature? These encounters cannot be simply dismissed. Excuse me. Chimeras and the mixing of animal and human DNA. A chimera is a single organism composed of genetically distinct cells. It's two or more animals combined into one. They have been around for a while. In 2012, sorry you guys. In 2012, Discovery News documented in an article entitled 10 Ways Science is Using Human-Animal Hybrids that food is being genetically changed. Humans are not exempt from this. As technology continues to advance, the possibilities are endless. Rabbit eggs with human cells, pigs with human blood, sheep with human livers, cow eggs with human cells, and cat-human hybrid proteins. One professor at Harvard even wants to create a Neanderthal-human hybrid. He says he just needs an adventurous female to carry the child. Professor George Church of Harvard Medical School believes he can reconstruct Neanderthal DNA and resurrect the species which became extinct 33,000 years ago. His scheme is reminiscent of Jurassic Park, but while in the film dinosaurs were created in a laboratory, Professor Church's ambitious plan requires a human volunteer. Yeah, that's creepy. That is definitely creepy. All right, you guys, I'm trying to load. There were two. That I had missed. Here, stand by just a minute. Let me locate this other one. All right, you guys, I had to change the battery in the camera. It was getting kind of low. It's getting really creepy out here right now. We're gonna do one more, and then I got to go back to the truck. I'm several hundred yards from the truck. I'm a little further than what I wanted to be, and I've got a hunting blind just back over here. And I actually went to the blind, and I got this bucket out of the blind. This is the bucket that we use as a seat. It's got a cushion that goes on top, and I should have brought the cushion because it's a little rough on the butt. But we'll get out of here, and I have to go put the bucket back and then go to the truck. But anyway, let's do this. All right, this article is titled, When an Attacking Killer Wolf May Actually Be a Dogman. The year was August 8th, 2019, and the location is Rampart Creek Campground at Banff National Park in Alberta, Canada. The information source is testimony of 5 eyewitnesses, police report, hospital report, NJ.com news source, New York Times, a statement from Parks Canada concerning the attack and the euthanizing of the animal, and the Florida Times Union. A family of 4 from New Jersey, Matt and Eliza Rispoli and their 2 sons were on a nice, relaxing camping trip in Canada at Banff National Park. They were from the town of Randolph in Lebanon Township in Hunterdon County, New Jersey. Matt was a police officer. They were attacked and nearly killed after midnight by what was thought to be a large wolf while they were sleeping in their tent. It was something like out of a horror movie, said Eliza Rispoli of Morris County, New Jersey. She and her husband Matt were tucked away in their sleeping bags when their 2 sons, sound asleep next to them. Oh, let me start that over, I'm sorry. She and her husband Matt were tucked away in their sleeping bags with their 2 sons, sound asleep next to them when the wolf attacked their tent after midnight. Matt Rispoli said in a Facebook posting back in 2019, shortly after the attack, that it was a hard thing to post because he hadn't fully comprehended what happened. They were sleeping in their tent in Banff National Park when they were attacked by a wolf of some sort. The whole tent was pushed in on them and shaking, and they couldn't see anything. Matt said he yelled and tried to hit and push back on the tent when something snapped down on his hand, a set of jaws. He could see the outline of its face about 3 to 4 feet away through the tent, staring right at him. He tried punching it twice close to its neck, but it had no effect. Matt literally threw his body in front of Eliza and his 2 boys and fought the wolf as it ripped apart their tent and tore into Matt's arms and hands, leaving lacerations and deep puncture wounds, like multiple stab wounds. They first thought it was a bear until Matt started screaming, "It's a wolf! It's a wolf!" Then it bit down on his arm and began to drag him away. They were screaming for help as Matt was fighting this wolf, trying to save his family. It felt like an eternity, they said, even though it only lasted 1 to 3 minutes. Eliza said she laid her body on top of her sons while Matt tried to pin the wolf to the ground and hold open its jaws with his hands. The wolf started to drag Matt away out of the tent while Eliza was pulling on Matt's legs, trying to get him back inside. She said she would never be able to properly describe the terror she felt. Matt tried to fend off the wolf with his bare hands and rocks, but to no avail. It was still dragging him away. Then, says Eliza, a guardian angel named Russ Fee from the tent site next to us heard our screams, and he came over to our site. He saw the rump of this wolf sticking out of our collapsing tent, and he kicked it in the behind and throwing rocks at it. And although it didn't at first acknowledge the kicking, it did eventually let Matt go. We continued to throw rocks at this wolf as we ran to our minivan to safety. It continued to follow Matt as we ran for our lives. It was not going to let Matt get away if it could help it. It never did turn on Russ, who had kicked it in the rear. It stayed focused on Matt, the one it had injured. The rest of the night ended up being a blur of EMTs, Good Samaritans, and waiting for treatment. No phone signal and crying. Matt eventually made it to the hospital and was treated for lacerations and multiple deep puncture, stab-like wounds. He was eventually released. The family was traumatized, but okay, they said. The campground was evacuated the next morning, and Parks Canada issued a statement saying they had killed the wolf early in the morning. The family's guardian angel, Russ Fee, told the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation that instinct took over after hearing their screams. He said he tried to hit, kick, and throw stones at the wolf. I even hit it a few times in an attempt to scare him away, but the creature didn't seem to care and was just too powerful. He said, when I punched this creature, it felt like this thing was way out of my weight class. Russ said the wolf was much larger than any dog or any other wolf he had ever seen, and immediately regretted kicking it in the rear. Parks Canada said they confirmed through DNA testing that the wolf they killed the next morning matched the wolf DNA found at the attack site. They said they located the wolf a mile away from the campsite and euthanized it. They also said no food was found near the tent, and the reason why it may have savagely attacked the family in their tent was that it was old and nearing the end of its lifespan. Parks Canada said, too, that this was the first time anyone had been hurt by a wolf at any Canadian national park. Since 2019, a warning heavy bear activity area sign remains posted for the Rampart Creek campground area. Eliza Rispoli said it could have been so much worse, and we're just feeling so thankful that we're still sitting here as a complete family. Matt is our absolute hero, more so than I ever thought possible, and we are forever grateful to Russ Fee, who came to our aid and likely saved Matt's life. Concluding thoughts and questions. This strange case has all the earmarkings of a dogman attack and raises questions as to what the animal really was, and do Parks Canada already know what dangerous creatures are living in their parks? The wolf animal waited until after midnight, when those inside the tent would be fast asleep and caught off guard, as well as other campers would be asleep also and less likely to assist the family. That shows intelligence. Why it targeted this particular family is strange. The father was a police officer from New Jersey, and this animal went straight for the alpha male in the tent. Doesn't this show intelligence way beyond a normal animal? If the creature had successfully pulled the father away and mauled him to death, what would have stopped it from attacking and killing the wife and the 2 young sons? It certainly could have turned out much, much worse. The whole slaughter of a family, like in the LBL in the early 1980s. The fact that the father, Matt Rispoli, said that during the attack the creature pressed its face against the tent to where he could tell it was looking straight at him is weird. It's like the creature could see him through the tinning material and wanted to drag him out only. First thinking it was a bear, he soon screamed, "It's a wolf." So at least he recognized this thing to be wolf-like in the darkness of the tent, which, with perhaps some nightlight, which the article does not say for sure. What the neighbor camper Russ Fee had to say is also interesting. He said kicking it, yelling and throwing stones and hitting it had little effect, or it didn't seem to care much. Punching it with his fists, he said he could tell it was very heavy and way beyond his weight match for a fight, and he regretted later kicking it, realizing he was dealing with what he described as something larger than any dog or normal wolf he had ever seen. The Parks Canada statement about they killed the wolf by euthanizing it a mile away the next morning, and its DNA matched what was left at the attack site, so they were sure it was the wolf involved in the attack. Is there any proof of this other than a statement? We all know national parks in North America have dogmen. They have dogmen packs and other cryptids living in their vast forests, and authorities are always doing damage control reports so as not to alarm the public. They blame bears most often, but this time an old wolf got the blame. There are so many documented strange human mutilations and disappearances to mention in this article, and we have covered many of them. Had Parks Canada already been aware of this possible dogman in the area of the campground and waited till an attack to close it down and then post bear warning signs? Parks Canada also stated that the family had no food at the campsite that would have attracted a wild animal, and that the wolf was hungry from old age and at the end of his lifespan, and that's why it tried to drag Matt out of the tent to eat him. Would an old dying wolf be able to do this? Rip apart the tinning material which collapsed the tent and attempted to drag away an adult to eat him. Authorities said there had never been any incident of any wolf attacking to eat any camping human in any of their Canadian parks before. The injuries Matt sustained again match what dogmen victims have been suffering. Deep lacerations and deep, multiple stab-like wounds. Could it be this wolf might not have been a wolf at all, but something different? Something much more dangerous? Fortunately, the whole family lived to tell the tale. Wow. Yeah, I don't want to deal with no wolf attacks. I don't want to be attacked at all. You guys, and look, for those of you that are new here, that are new to our family, thank you for being here. We absolutely love you and appreciate you being here. Our channel, I've received a couple of emails again. My channel is not monetized. We make nothing. Whatever commercials you guys are seeing in the videos, I did not put them there. I do not get paid for them. I don't get paid for anything I do. This channel is about our life, our goats, and just the high strangeness that we're dealing with now out here at this property where I'm at right now. And I share everything with our extended family, which is all of you. But no, our channel is not monetized. I don't make nothing off of anything that I do. On these articles, our brother Don Moore, he's part of our family here. He is part of our YouTube channel. He does a lot of work behind the scenes to help me with the channel and with comments. Don does all of the research to gather this material, and he mails it to me. Using the post office, he pays to send that stuff up to me, and then I come out and places out in the forest normally, and I share these articles. And so all thanks goes to our brother Don Moore for that. And if any of you are interested to see the pictures that go with these articles that I shared with you today, I will put the link to the video, Brother Don's channel. I won't be able to put the link on it because the way that we do it, I will upload the video and then he uploads the video that has the photographs for this, for these articles. He has several photograph or pictures. A lot of them are artists' renditions, but a lot of them are amazing. A lot of the stuff he comes up with are mind-blowing. But if you'd like to see the pictures associated with these articles or any other articles that I've done, if there's pictures for them, Don probably has the pictures up on his channel. Excuse me. He puts together some really, really nice videos showing those pictures. And normally they'll have either a matching title to what we title ours or close to it, to where it'd be kind of easy to find the pictures to whichever articles I share. It's very difficult for me to share them out here because they are in paper copy, and it's very hard to hold these papers up and then guess that I'm at the right position in front of the camera for you guys to see it. It gets kind of hard, especially if the wind's blowing or anything of the sort. So Brother Don does that. He uploads the videos for the pictures. Something I wanted to share with you. This is a little different. Most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with my encounter, what happened to me with the Sasquatch in Marianna, Florida. One of the farms that we deal with, that we get hay from, I was up there a couple of weeks ago. My buddy who owns the farm, Dennis, we were talking about the wild pig problem. He's got wild pigs that are they're ravaging some of his property, some of his crops, and we were discussing, how they are eradicating that situation. And then I shared with him that I used to do that for several farms in the area, and I told him, I said, I had a friend of mine had a farm in Marianna, Florida, Sonny, and he spit out Sonny's first and last name, and then he spit out his brother's last name. And I'm not going to give their first and last name, or I'm not going to give their last name. The brother has a very unusual name, and so I'm not going to tell you the name at all for him. But anyway, I said, yes, you know them? And he said, yeah, we all went to school together, junior high, high school, and they still are very close friends. They remain in contact with each other. They talk to each other weekly. I told him, I said, yeah, I used to work it, but some stuff happened. Dennis says, well, did you hear about the Sasquatch problem? And of course I did. I had my encounter there, but he didn't know that. And I said, yes, sir. And I told him, you know, what happened to me over there. He said, well, that's why that property was sold. And I said, well, I thought it was because of the wild, I was told because of the wild pig problem, but Sonny didn't tell me that. One of the guys that were working with me, there were 7 of us that worked those farms to eradicate the pigs. Sometimes there were 9 or 10, but there were 7 of us that were permanent fixtures out there removing the pigs. He says, no, it wasn't the pigs, it was the Sasquatch. Sonny had enough of it, and he just sold the property. Before that happened, he mentions the name of Sonny's nephews. He said, do you know, I'm not going to mention their names. I'm just going to say Bob and Al. That's not their names, but that's the names I'm going to use. He said, do you know them? I said, yeah, I know them. He said, did you hear what happened to them? I said, no. He said, well, they were on tractors working different fields. There's a little field by the highway, and there's a little 2-trail, 100-yard road that goes through the real thick forest, and then it goes to the big field. Al was working on the big field with his tractor. That was a wood knock. I don't know if you heard that. He was on the big field. Well, they got finished. Bob finished up. He got in the truck. He drove over there, and he picks up Al. They come back down that 2-trail, and I had my encounter on that 2-trail. They're heading to the highway. Al says, oh, crap. I left the cab lights on in the tractor. Sonny will kill me if that battery's dead in the morning. Can you take me back where I can turn the lights off? They turned around. They come out of the 2-trail. When they hit the field, they're turning to the right. The tractor is down to the right. As they're making the turn, the headlights are shining across the field. And there's a group, 8 or 10 deer out there in the field. And that place is just loaded with deer. As the lights come off the deer, there is a humanoid figure standing at the edge, covered in black hair. And they hit the brakes, headlights are on it, they kick the high beams on, and it's looking at them. Bob says, do you see that? And before Al can answer it, it takes off across the field. He throws the truck in reverse, he's backing up, he's swinging the headlights around, he's turning it. And as the headlights, he's trying to keep the headlights on it as it's running across this field's huge, and this thing's running across. As he's got the light on it, this Sasquatch made it to the wood line. It caught up to the deer were running too. It passed the deer, made it to the wood line, and the deer were still 100 yards from the wood. They were trying to get to the woods too. That thing caught up to them and passed them and made it to the wood line before the deer did. Deer are fast. Can you imagine what kind of speed that takes? But anyhow, it was mind-blowing for him to tell me that, because he didn't know I had an encounter there. I never told him. He's an older gentleman, and we discussed Sonny's brother's property, which is in a different county. A lot of activity up there too, and he's, to this day, his brother still has the property. He has a home on the property, and it's large acreage, and they still deal with Sasquatch activity up there. It's just it's a part of that farm now. But there's so much going on, you guys. I've had a lot happen here recently, and one of the things right back this direction, quite a ways from us, I've got a ladder stand, and I just put it up. I'm 30 yards in front of it, and I'm putting my trail camera on a tree. My back is to the stand. It's dead calm. It's planted pines like what I'm in now. It's open. I went through the previous few days, and all these dead limbs like this stuff here, I just knocked them all down with my pole saw. So when I'm hunting, it's all open between the trees. There's nothing to deflect my bullet. So I knocked everything down. There's some trees like this one here that's dead, laying on the ground, but that's it. Behind my ladder stand, there's 3 rows of pines, and then the row my ladder stands on. And then a few rows in front of it is where I was at. I hear a tree fall, a big tree. I hear it breaking and it's coming down. I spin around expecting the tree to be falling toward me or close to me. It was so loud. I spin around, there's nothing moving, there's no wind blowing, and I still hear it coming down. It hits the ground. I feel the impact. I can hear debris raining down where the limbs were hitting dead stuff, and it was just knocking crap down with it. There was nothing moving. There was not a tree down, nothing fell. I don't know how to explain that. I don't have a clue. I've never experienced that in my life. That was the first time that's ever happened. It was very real, very loud. I was filming, I think. Yes, I was filming when that happened, and it did catch it. When I saved all them clips and I tried to transfer them to my phone and went to edit them, when I transfer them from my camera to my phone, I delete them off the camera so that I have space on my memory card. And I had them in the phone. Well, I tried 6 or 7 days trying to get the edited video saved, and it just won't save them. I'm having problems with my editor, which now, once I researched it, not this past Apple update, but the one before it, people are having problems with their phone, especially with video editors and saving videos and pictures from trail cameras and other cameras. The phones ain't acting right, and mine's doing that. Well, I lost that footage. I lost all of it. Normally, stuff like that, I'll lock it toward the clip that has activity. I'll lock it into where if I delete everything, I don't lose that clip because it's got the little locked icon on it. And I did not do that and ended up losing it. But there's been a lot of stuff like that happening. This property's strange. We caught all kind of figures on it, not Sasquatch, paranormal things we've captured on camera. It's just a weird area. I'm creeped out right now. I've got eyes on me, and it feels like someone's breathing on the back of my neck. There ain't nobody around me, but it feels like someone's right here. I mean, just over my right shoulder behind this tree right here. And there's nothing there, you guys can see. But anyhow, just wanted to share that with you. I'm going home. You guys, I'm getting really creeped out. It was very hard reading that last article. I've got more articles. Brother Don sent us. Thank you, Don, tremendously. But I've got more. We are going to be sharing them. And I believe I'm going to do a live show for them. Yep. Okay. Thought I heard something hit the ground. I don't know if the mic caught it. Just as I was looking, either an acorn or a rock just bounced off this pine tree right here. Not this one, that one. It just hit it right there and bounced off. Yeah, I'm not gonna take the bucket back. I'm gonna go back this way. I'm gonna go to the truck. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon. I love you. God bless you. Be safe in all you do. And if there's anything I can do for you, please email me at standinggoatsrescue@yahoo.com. I'll see you guys soon. Be safe, be kind, be blessed in all you do. Hey, you guys, I'm right here at the truck. Truck's right there. Just something, dawned on me. Y'all are gonna think it's silly, possibly stupid. You see the hole in the ground right there? Right there, there's a hole in the ground. It reminded me of something that happened. It's been many years ago, 15 or 20 years ago. Guys, and I think it's every guy that's around, if we're out in the woods and guys have to relieve themselves, not number two, not stinky, but if a guy has to relieve himself, if there's a hole in the ground right there, I don't know why we do it. Everybody I know, men, that I've mentioned it to, they do it too. If we gotta urinate, we will we'll go in the hole. We were camping in, I think it was Point Washington, which is it's a wooded area off Panama City Beach, the northwest end of Panama City Beach. We were all out there camping, and the next morning we had some women with us, so we had to go away from camp about 50 yards to relieve ourselves. And Dwayne, one of my buddies, I don't know about now, but back then he was a drunk. And we were all had our backs toward the camp, and everybody's relieving themselves. Well, Dwayne had a hole in the ground, so he's got a hole sitting here, and he starts relieving himself, and he's filling the hole up. And yellow jackets, it was a yellow jacket nest, a hornet nest. They come out of the ground and they wore us out. One of the girls back at the camp, she got stung 2 or 3 times. I got stung 7 or 8 times. Dwayne, they fired him up. But it just, every time I see a hole, what in the world? That was my phone. It's in the phone holster talking to me. But anyhow, it's just a funny story I wanted to share with you. So if you're a guy and you're out in the woods and you got to relieve yourself and you got to spring a leak, don't spring a leak in a hole if you see it on the ground. That one that Dwayne tried to fill up, it cost all of us some discomfort for some time. I think 5 of us, 5 out of 7 got stung that day. And one of the women was up at the camp, was nowhere near us. And it's just it's one of them things, we got paid back for what he done. But anyhow, y'all have a good day. I'll see you guys soon. God bless you.